Some of the stones at Stonehenge weigh between 50 and 70 tons. So how could you have moved these into place? How could you have moved them from Wales, where the blue stones, the spotted dolerite, came from, within Stonehenge?
For thousands of years, these massive stones have stood silently on the open plains of England, watching humanity. Time has changed, civilizations have risen and fallen, but Stonehenge still stands, silent, imposing, and full of mysteries. When these stones were re-examined using modern machinery and new technology, it became clear that this is not just a pile of large rocks. The placement, weight, and orientation of each stone are so precise that even today's engineers would be astonished. The most surprising thing is that these stones were brought from hundreds of kilometers away, without wheels, without iron tools, and without any written plans. The question is, how did the people of that time manage to do this? And if they could do this, what else did they know that we still don't know today? Now, scientists have found some new clues that may help explain the story of its origins. The findings have surprised experts, and those involved in the research are quite excited. And the most shocking part of the story comes at the end, so be sure to watch this video until the end. This video is not a normal one, so before you proceed further in the video, subscribe to the channel, as this channel features similar research-related videos. Stonehenge is a very old stone structure built on an open plain in the southern part of England. It is not a fort, not a palace, and not the home of any king. Yet, it ranks among the world's most mysterious and talked-about structures. Its age is estimated to be approximately 4,500 to 5,000 years. This means that Stonehenge was being erected around the same time that the Egyptian pyramids were being built. Now let's talk about its stones, because that's where the real surprise begins. The largest stones in Stonehenge are called sarsen stones. Each sarsen stone weighs approximately 20 to 25 tons. In simple terms, this weight is equivalent to about 3 to 4 large trucks. Some of the stones are even heavier. They are about 13 to 16 feet tall, which is the height of a 2-story house. When you stand next to them, you automatically feel small. Not only that, but Stonehenge also has some smaller but very special stones, called blue stones. These stones may look small, but their mystery is even deeper. According to scientists, these blue stones were brought from a place called Wales, which is about 200 kilometers away from Stonehenge. Now, just imagine, even in today's age, transporting a 20-ton stone over such a distance is not an easy task. And back then, there were no wheels, no cranes, and no paved roads. So how did these stones get there? This question makes Stonehenge even more mysterious. Stonehenge is not just a random pile of stones. It is built in a circular shape, and the placement of each stone seems to have been carefully considered. Some stones stand upright, with long stones placed horizontally on top of them, like a doorway. Amazingly, these horizontal stones are joined in such a way that they haven't fallen even after thousands of years. Building such a structure without cement or iron, simply by joining stone to stone, is a remarkable feat of engineering. This structure, built even before the pyramids of Giza, remains a mystery to this day. Historians and ordinary people alike are constantly pondering the same questions. Who built it? Why did they put in so much effort? And most surprisingly, how did these massive stones get here? At first glance, Stonehenge simply looks like a circle of old stones. Many people just look at it and move on. But the real story begins where most people stop. This place wasn't chosen randomly. It is directly aligned with the movement of the sun. Stonehenge is built according to where the sun rises in the summer and sets in the winter. This clearly means that the builders were not only hardworking but also possessed a deep understanding of time, seasons, and the sky. But even after knowing all this, one question remains: the mystery of these stones. Over time, archaeologists have understood that Stonehenge is not made of just one type of stone. Two different types of rocks were used. The smaller stones, called blue stones, came from the Preseli Hills in Wales. This place is about 140 miles away. Even today, transporting such heavy materials over such a distance is not easy. And back then, there were no roads, no machines, and no wheels. Yet, somehow, these people managed to transport these stones across rivers, through forests, and over mountains to this location. This fact alone is enough to demonstrate the ingenuity and determination of that era. But the real discussion has always revolved around the large sarsen stones. These are the stones that give Stonehenge its identity. Each stone is approximately 30 feet tall and is estimated to weigh between 20 and 30 tons. They are arranged in a precise circular and horseshoe-shaped pattern. While the blue stones appear in various sizes and are scattered haphazardly, the sarsen stones are uniform, tall, and dominate the entire structure. They are the true strength of this place, the structure that makes Stonehenge recognizable from afar under the open sky. The most astonishing thing is that for so many years, no one could determine where these massive sarsen stones came from. Some suggested they were brought from the surrounding area, perhaps from somewhere near Salisbury Plain. But this was merely speculation, not a certainty. This unanswered question only added to the mystery of Stonehenge, because when you don't know where the stones came from, it becomes even more difficult to understand the true extent of the ingenuity of the people of that time. Some believed that the size and strength of these stones clearly indicated that they could not have come from the immediate vicinity. It was argued that such hard and heavy stones could only have been transported from a distant location. This line of thinking led to several theories. Some suggested they were brought from Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles to the north. Others speculated that they might have come from quarries that no longer exist today. The problem was that every story sounded plausible, but no one had conclusive evidence to settle the matter. As a result, the question remained unanswered. When a clear answer isn't found, people start making up their own stories. This is what happened with Stonehenge. Along with science, folklore also flourished. Some medieval writers wrote that the wizard Merlin himself brought the stones to Salisbury Plain. Later, other stories spread, suggesting that the work wasn't done by humans, but by giants who transported the stones across the country. Some even suggested that the stones were never brought, but had been there from the beginning, marks of some ancient geological change, or a gift from the gods. Scholars dismissed these claims as fantasy, but the truth is that the real answer still eludes them. The mystery is further compounded by the peculiar nature of the sarsen stone itself. Sarsen is a very hard type of sandstone found scattered throughout southern England. Often, these large, solitary stones are found lying in fields and valleys. It is believed that these are the remnants of a very old rock layer that has been eroded away over time. This means that, in theory, these stones could have come from many places. But this also poses a problem. When there are so many possible locations, it becomes extremely difficult to prove the true source. Unless the stones are precisely geologically matched, archaeologists are left with only guesses. The sheer size of these stones further confounds thinking. Imagine people living thousands of years ago, without wheels, iron tools, or draft animals, yet they decided to lift stones that weigh as much as a large lorry today. Not just lifting them, but erecting them with such precision that the entire structure would last for centuries. It sounds impossible. And yet, Stonehenge still stands today. This paradox has led people for generations to consider that perhaps our ancestors possessed greater intelligence and abilities than we often believe. By the end of the 20th century, the question of the Saracen stones had become one of Stonehenge's greatest unsolved mysteries. Archaeologists openly admitted they lacked a definitive answer. Some still considered the Marlborough Downs the most likely location. Others cautioned that the matter might not be so straightforward, and that the stones might have been brought from several different locations. Research reports often exuded a sense of frustration. Without solid scientific evidence, the discussion was unable to move forward. The question remained the same, and the answer remained shrouded in darkness. This lack of information kept the Stonehenge mystery alive and fueled public interest. Whenever Stonehenge was featured in a documentary or appeared in the news, the primary question was the same: where did these stones come from? Scholars debated this in their research journals. Tour guides told visitors various stories, and ordinary people, in their imaginations, considered every possibility, from lost civilizations to some unknown force. For this reason, for centuries, the Saracen stones of Stonehenge remained enormous, not just in size, but also in mystery. They served as reminders of all that we don't know about our ancient ancestors, their strength, their courage, their wisdom, and perhaps even some secrets we don't even know exist. But as time passed, the realization deepened that the truth behind such massive stones couldn't remain hidden forever. Somewhere, some solid answer was bound to emerge. Surprisingly, the discovery that brought scientists closer to answering this question didn't come from a new excavation or a high-tech scan. It began with something most people didn't even know existed: a small piece of stone that had remained anonymous for decades. In 1958, during routine repairs at Stonehenge, engineers had to reinforce a large pillar, known as Stone 58. The stone had cracked. To stabilize it, 3 thin holes were drilled into the stone so that metal rods could be inserted. During this process, a cylindrical piece of the stone broke off. A technician involved in the work, Robert Phillips, was allowed to keep the piece. It looked like nothing more than a thick stick, smooth, small, and utterly insignificant compared to the massive stones. At the time, no one imagined that this piece would ever prove so important. Sometime later, Robert moved to the United States, and the piece of stone went with him. For more than 50 years, the core remained in his possession, sometimes at home, sometimes at the office, a quiet memento of that old job in England. Meanwhile, at Stonehenge, researchers continued to search for answers to their questions. The debate about the origin of the stones continued, new ideas emerged, and technology advanced. But without a genuine sample of the stone, most of the discussions remained speculative. Then, in 2018, shortly before his 90th birthday, Robert decided that the piece of stone should be returned to its rightful place. He contacted English Heritage, which manages Stonehenge, and arranged for the core to be sent back to the United Kingdom. For archaeologists, it was nothing short of a miracle. Suddenly, they had in their hands a genuine piece of a Saracen stone from Stonehenge, a core sample taken directly from a stone thousands of years old, largely untouched by time or weather. It was perfect for modern scientific analysis, as if the past itself had stepped forward to offer up its secrets. As soon as the core sample was returned, a palpable excitement spread among the researchers. According to those who witnessed it firsthand, such an opportunity is incredibly rare. Archaeologists are typically not allowed to take samples from ancient stones, as the paramount concern is preserving the monument. Any damage is considered unacceptable, outweighing the potential benefits of research. This made the returned core sample all the more precious. Now, scientists could understand the true chemical composition of the sarsen stones without touching or damaging Stonehenge itself. The sample was then subjected to a battery of modern analytical techniques. Scientists used methods such as X-ray fluorescence and mass spectrometry to determine the elemental composition of the stone, identifying everything from silicon and aluminum to iron and trace amounts of other minerals. Such detailed analysis would have been unthinkable in earlier times, but today's technology allowed for an understanding of the stone's composition at a microscopic level. The team at University College London, which led the research, emphasized in their report the meticulous care taken throughout the process. Every step was carefully documented. Every instrument was calibrated to precise standards. The goal was not simply to analyze the core sample, but to create a highly accurate chemical profile, a profile that could be compared to potential stone sources across England. If the right match could be found, the true story of the sarsen stones might finally be revealed. Meanwhile, alongside the core sample analysis, scientists also worked on the remaining stones standing on Salisbury Plain. They used non-destructive methods, scanning the outer surface of each large stone with portable X-ray fluorescence machines. This created a kind of chemical map of the entire monument without disturbing it. This was no easy task. Each stone had to be examined individually, each measurement carefully taken. The unpredictable Wiltshire weather only added to the difficulty. Yet, stone by stone and step by step, the scientists pressed on because they felt they were getting closer to the answer that had been sought for centuries. Some of those involved in the research said that as the data came in, the story began to unfold. It had previously been assumed that the sarsen stones came from various locations, but the analysis showed something different. Most of the stones had almost identical chemical compositions. This strongly suggested that they didn't come from scattered sources, but from a single common location. If this was true, it meant that the builders of Stonehenge had first chosen a specific site, then gathered most of the stones from there, and transported them all together, according to a plan. This realization was both exciting and a little daunting. Exciting because it now seemed clear that the stones had been deliberately chosen, and the question could now be asked, why that particular location? Daunting because it raised many difficult questions. How were so many people mobilized? How was such a massive undertaking managed? And why bring stones from so far away when smaller stones were readily available nearby? What was so special about that place? The stone core that was recovered, along with the chemical scanning of the standing stones, was beginning to unlock a mystery that had baffled people for centuries. Scientists began comparing the chemical signatures of Stonehenge's sarsen stones to those of other sarsen sites in southern England. The hope was that a match would be found, revealing the stone's true origin, and when the results came in, they not only confirmed previous suspicions, but also challenged many long-held assumptions about the builders of Stonehenge. As the full data became available, the picture began to clarify. Questions that had previously been confined to speculation and debate were now grounded in the solid evidence of chemistry and geology. For the first time, scientists were able to understand the journey these massive stones had taken. The results were truly astonishing. Of the 52 sarsen stones that remain on Salisbury Plain today, 50 had virtually identical chemical signatures. In short, almost all of the large stones came from the same place. This similarity didn't seem to be a coincidence. It appeared that the builders had deliberately chosen a single quarry and ignored all others. The place was West Woods, a dense forest in the southern part of the Marlborough Downs, about 15 miles north of Stonehenge. To grasp the significance of this, consider this. Stones weighing between 40,000 and 60,000 pounds were dragged across rough terrain without wheels, paved roads, or any modern machinery. Even today, such a feat would require heavy machinery. And yet, this was accomplished nearly 4,000 years ago. This is what makes Stonehenge not just an ancient structure, but a breathtaking testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. West Woods wasn't chosen arbitrarily. Research from University College London reveals that the sarsen stones found there were significantly larger, stronger, and more uniform than those found elsewhere. These were precisely the qualities needed to construct the towering trilithons of Stonehenge. For the people of that time, West Woods was likely the most suitable source for stones that fit their grand purpose. Now, consider this. These stones were transported from approximately 15 miles away. This fact is as astonishing as it is mind-boggling. Imagine the sheer scale of the operation required to move such massive stones. Archaeologists believe that hundreds of people would have been needed to move each individual sarsen stone. Thick logs were likely used as rollers, or perhaps wooden sledges were constructed to slowly drag the stones, inch by inch, for miles, until they reached their final destination. Some researchers also suggest that rivers or waterways may have been utilized for parts of the journey, although this remains a subject of debate. Whatever the method, the effort involved would have been immense. It was during this research that another startling discovery was made. Not all sarsen stones were alike. While 50 of the stones match those found in West Woods, 2 stones turned out to have a different chemical composition. The origin of these 2 stones remains a mystery. Some believe they may have been taken from smaller stones scattered around Stonehenge. Others suggest they point to a now lost source that has yet to be identified. Whatever the truth, the presence of these 2 stones further complicates the story. If almost all the stones were brought from the same location, why was this pattern broken for just 2 of them? Even more intriguing is what the choice of West Woods tells us about the mindset of the people who built Stonehenge. This decision wasn't simply based on convenience. There were other sources of sarsen stones closer by that could have been used, yet they were bypassed. This suggests that West Woods held some special significance, perhaps cultural, perhaps religious, or perhaps symbolic. The forest itself may have been considered sacred at the time, or perhaps the stones from that particular location were associated with some special power or importance. Researchers believe we may never fully understand the true reason, but it's clear that this choice was not made lightly. This entire discovery forces us to look at Neolithic society from a new perspective. Moving stones weighing 20 to 30 tons over such distances wasn't just a feat of strength. It required foresight, planning, leadership, and the ability to bring people together. It paints a picture of a society far more organized and capable than our previous conceptions, a society that could unite people from vast areas to accomplish monumental tasks. Today, West Woods is a tranquil forest with trails, trees, and wildlife. But when viewed through the lens of this discovery, its significance changes. This was the starting point for the stones that shaped one of the world's most mysterious and enduring monuments. From this quiet forest, the stones were quarried, dragged, and ultimately erected, forming a circle that, thousands of years later, still compels humans to ponder and wonder. When scientists finally proved where the stones came from, it was a major turning point. For hundreds of years, people had only speculated, but now, for the first time, the true source of the stones had been confirmed. Yet, this answer wasn't the end of the story. On the contrary, it raised new questions. Why was that particular location chosen? Why was it necessary to bring the stones from so far away? And what other secrets does the area between West Woods and Salisbury Plain still hold? Clearly, the discovery wasn't over. The real surprises were yet to come. For a long time, the question of where the sarsen stones came from remained open. Folklore spoke of giants, of magical forces that lifted and placed the stones. But now the picture was clear. Scientific findings showed that these massive stones of Stonehenge, some weighing over 60,000 pounds and reaching nearly 30 feet in height, were not just randomly collected rocks. They were carefully extracted from a single location, selected, and then transported here. The implication was clear. This was no random undertaking. It was a meticulously planned, large-scale project, requiring organization, discipline, and coordination. Archaeologists believe this discovery fundamentally alters our understanding of the people who lived around 2500 BCE. They deliberately bypassed readily available stones and focused on a specific source. This decision continues to puzzle even modern-day experts. It suggests that the selection of the stones was not based solely on their strength or size, but that they held a deeper meaning, perhaps symbolic, religious, or connected to a specific ritual. When researchers matched the chemical composition of the stones to the area from which they were quarried, another astonishing fact emerged. These stones were not only dragged for miles, but they were also meticulously shaped and then erected in precise locations according to the movements of the sun and sky. Such immense physical labor on the one hand, and such profound technical understanding on the other, this combination is somewhat unsettling. But the story doesn't end there. Most surprisingly, almost all of Stonehenge's massive sarsen stones came from the same location, but not all of them. Chemical analysis revealed that 2 stones are different from the rest. Their source remains unclear to this day. Scientists have not yet been able to determine why these 2 stones were included. Were they remnants of earlier construction attempts? Or were they deliberately placed apart to create a specific message or pattern? Currently, there are no definitive answers to these questions. These 2 stones still stand as silent reminders that the story of Stonehenge is far from fully understood. As soon as this discovery came to light, the reaction worldwide was swift. It caused a stir among archaeologists, but the discussion wasn't limited to them. The debate quickly spread to popular culture. Historians began to view it from a new perspective. Environmentalists questioned the ancient landscape of the area, and the spiritual groups who consider Stonehenge a sacred site also began to reconsider its meaning. Have you ever wondered what mysteries places like Stonehenge are still hiding from us? If you enjoy such untold truths, hidden mysteries, and astonishing discoveries, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more exciting videos.